The name G carries weight in Liverpool's underworld, a family tied to drugs, violence, and fear on the streets of Everton. For years, their empire brought chaos to the Grizedale Estate, leaving a trail of shootings, vendettas, and lives torn apart. Some saw them as survivors of a broken system, others as ruthless criminals who ruled through intimidation. What's certain is this: the story of the G family is one of power, blood, and betrayal, a legacy Liverpool cannot forget. Welcome to Crime Pulse, where we dig deep into the cases that scar Britain's communities. Here, we shine a light on the shadows, giving voice to the stories hidden behind closed doors. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and join us on our journey into the dark heart of Britain's criminal underworld. In the early 1980s, the Grizedale Estate in Everton, a gritty enclave just north of Liverpool's vibrant city centre, was a breeding ground for hardship, where poverty and neglect shaped the lives of its youth. Among them were the G brothers, Darren, Daniel, Billy, Ian, and Stephen, born into a world offering little beyond struggle. Darren later reflected, his voice heavy with the weight of memory. "The schools gave us nothing but dead ends. I walked away at 13. No qualifications, no skills to claw my way out of this estate." For the Gs, crime wasn't just an escape. It was a rebellion against a system that had already written them off. What began with petty thefts and break-ins in their teens evolved into a calculated plunge into the drug trade by the late 1990s, as they seized the chance to turn street corners into cash machines. By the early 2000s, Darren and Daniel had forged a criminal empire, transforming Grizedale into a relentless, round-the-clock drug hub. They exploited the gap between wholesale and street prices for Class A drugs like crack and heroin, raking in at least £20,000 a week, a figure later confirmed by a Merseyside officer tasked with their takedown. The brothers built a loyal crew from childhood mates. As Darren put it, "We stuck with the lads we grew up with, the ones we knew wouldn't snitch." Their network was ruthless and efficient, employing kids as young as 12 to scout for cops or rivals, paying them £50 a week to ditch school for the thrill of quick cash. Parents, too, were drawn in, peddling drugs with their children in tow. A grim sight one elite task force officer recalled. Families sold crack and heroin non-stop, kids trailing behind, caught in the grind, using pay-as-you-go phones to field orders and mountain bikes for swift deliveries. The Jesus operation ran like a street corporation, funneling profits into loyalty, muscle, and tighter control. A Crown Court prosecutor later summed it up. The Gs ruled through fear and drug money, their grip on Everton absolute. As their empire peaked, Grizedale became a fortress of their making, its streets pulsing with the chaos they commanded. But beneath this empire's roar, the estate's ordinary souls bore the weight of its shadow, their lives forever altered by the Gs' reign. By the early 2000s, the G family's iron grip had turned the Grizedale Estate in Everton from a working-class neighbourhood into a tense, crime-soaked battleground. Once a place of community, its backstreets now pulsed with the G's drug trade, leaving honest families to duck and weave through daily deals and threats. Cut off from Liverpool's wider pulse, the estate felt like its own dark world, as Darren G later mused. "When we saw the locals had no trust left in the coppers, we leaned in harder. A Merseyside police survey laid bare the toll. 8 out of 10 law-abiding residents lived in dread of retaliation, their lives haunted by the G's shadow." Darren himself admitted the cost. It was brutal for folks just trying to keep their heads down, stuck living next to blokes like us. Those who dared resist faced swift, brutal consequences, their voices silenced by the G's relentless hold on every alley and corner. As the G's empire swelled, Merseyside police fought back, launching a rogue unit from Walton Lane Station in 2002 to crack the family's stranglehold. This small, scrappy team, calling their mission the Lord's work, threw out the rulebook to match the G's ferocity. "We fought fire with fire, going toe-to-toe with proper nasty lads," one officer recalled. In just 9 months, they nabbed hundreds, seizing £2.5 million in cash, drugs, and gear, including a sniper rifle rigged for precision hits. Their unorthodox graft slashed the G's profits, though whispers lingered that Darren and Daniel were mere fronts for a deeper, more ruthless network. They seemed like the face of a vicious setup, something bigger pulling the strings, a detective noted. But the unit's bold moves drew heat, and complaints forced its shutdown by 2003, leaving the Giz empire bruised but standing. As the estate reeled under this uneasy stalemate, the Giz's feud with rival crews was about to ignite a deadly clash. By 2003, North Liverpool streets were a battleground, with the G brothers clashing hard against rival drug crews. The tension boiled over into a wave of shootings in 2004, marking a deadly turf war. On New Year's Day, a double shooting at the Royal Oak pub in West Derby left one man dead and another fighting for his life, a clear sign of the growing conflict. The bad blood between the G's and drug lord William Moore had hit a breaking point, with both sides scrambling for control of the drug trade. On April 6, 2004, Darren G., his brother Daniel, and their mates Craig Barker, just 18, and Mark Richardson were driving down Robson Street in a Ford Galaxy. They'd just come from a funeral in Speke, their hearts heavy with grief. Ian G., riding along, spotted a suspicious car tailing them. Acting on instinct, they stopped and threw the Galaxy into reverse to lose it. But before they could get away, Darren Waterhouse, a former SAS soldier turned hitman hired by Moore, opened fire, spraying the car with a wild barrage of bullets. Darren had switched seats with Craig Barker, who was driving a new car and struggling with a tricky clutch. The car stalled, leaving them exposed. "Those bullets were meant for me," Darren later said, his voice breaking as he described watching his best mate Craig take the hits. Craig didn't survive. Ian was badly wounded, left with life-changing injuries, while Mark escaped with a minor wound. Darren, unharmed but shaken, tried to drive the shot-up Galaxy to a hospital, but a bullet in the gearbox locked it in second gear. In a desperate move to save Craig, Darren smashed the window of a passing car, terrifying the woman inside, and pleaded for help to get his friend to safety. It was too late. Craig was gone. In 2005, Waterhouse, a decorated Coldstream Guards veteran with a military cross, and Moore were convicted of Craig's murder, both handed life sentences with a 30-year minimum. Waterhouse insisted he was innocent, arguing his military training made the chaotic shooting unlikely. "I'm a professional," he told the court, supported by a former soldier-turned-cop, who said the sloppy gunfire didn't match Waterhouse's precise double-tap technique. He admitted knowing Moore from a prison stint over a drug charge, where they'd griped about the G's grip on the drug market. The prosecution claimed Waterhouse came to Liverpool as a contract killer, targeting Darren, using his own car and phone and even bringing his dog. Hardly the moves of a careful assassin, he argued. Witness accounts didn't line up. An anonymous source described the shooter in a balaclava, cricket-style hat, coveralls, and gloves, but Darren swore he saw a man with red or ginger hair in an alpine hat. During a flawed ID parade at Luton Police Station, Ian G. picked Waterhouse but admitted he ducked for cover and didn't see the gunman fire. The parade was messy. Waterhouse's navy t-shirt stood out, with volunteers not matching it properly. Waterhouse later claimed Darren sent him a Christmas card, suggesting police tipped Ian off about the t-shirt. The Court of Appeal rejected a retrial, dismissing Darren's credibility. Waterhouse also pointed to a missing 999 call, supposedly from Mark Richardson, as a miscarriage of justice, but the judge ruled it wouldn't have helped his case. The Robson Street ambush left deep wounds, physical, emotional, and communal, igniting a fierce desire for revenge. As the G brothers wrestled with grief and anger, their drive for retribution would pull Liverpool's underworld into a darker spiral of violence. The blood on Robson Street in April 2004 kicked off a deadly wave of payback for the G family. 5 days later, on April 11th, Michael Singleton, an 18-year-old Vauxhall lad with no direct dealing or involvement in the underworld, was shot dead in a mate's house on Wycombe Way, Kirkdale. 4 bullets hit him as kids slept upstairs, a grim killing cops linked to the G's feud with rival drug crews, though no one was charged. On May 18th, 2004, Darren G., wrongly thinking David Regan, a 36-year-old car wash owner, was behind Craig Barker's death, set up a hit. 3 bullets tore into Reagan's back and legs at his Prescott Road shop in Old Swan. "I was messed up after Craig, and no one stopped me. They pushed me to hit back," Darren said, his voice full of regret. Nabbed for conspiracy to murder, Darren faced a possible 35-year stretch under new laws, his team calling it nearly a contract killing. At Manchester Crown Court in 2006, the judge, noting the crime came before 2004 laws, and Darren's slim record, just one charge for mouthing off to a prison officer, gave him 18 years, a shot at a new path. The 2004 killings forced Merseyside police to start the Matrix team, the first outside London, to smash gun and gang networks, dragging big players off the streets. David's sister, Nikki Regan, shared the pain. The murder of David Regan in 2004 destroyed our family. We were left isolated and vulnerable. So-called friends disappeared, but that's what happens when a loved one is shot dead. Threats followed them through the trial, and Darren's later social media rants about chopping heads off stung deep. We do not want or seek revenge, Nikki said, but the Regan family wishes to be left alone, especially by Darren G. While Darren saw a path to redemption, his brother Daniel G remained a relentless force of violence, his name a dark legend in Liverpool's underworld. In 2008, Liverpool Crown Court exposed a harrowing feud with 16-year-old Jamie Starkey, a lad with learning difficulties, targeted by Daniel's crew. For months, they terrorized the Starkey family, smashing bricks through their windows, ramming Starkey's brother's car, and kidnapping a friend, locking him in a derelict house where they beat and stoned him. On New Year's Eve 2008, while out in Everton, Starkey crossed paths with one of Daniel's mates who threatened to shoot him. Scared, Starkey fled to a rundown property and grabbed a hidden Colt revolver. In a tense 15-minute face-off outside a pub at 5 a.m., Daniel taunted him, "Pull the trigger now or I'm coming for your mum." Fearing for his family, Starkey shot Daniel, the bullet ripping through his stomach and lung before exiting his back. Daniel refused hospital treatment and went on the run, but police caught him 4 days later for running a major drug ring in Liverpool's city centre. In June 2008, he was hit with a 7.5-year sentence. Starkey got 7 years for wounding with intent and carrying a firearm. A covert police operation later caught Daniel plotting to buy serious weapons, including a .45 and an MAC-10, while vowing to kill Starkey. "That little expletive is done," he told his partner, Kelly Wallace. "He's only safe in jail, and it'll be worse for him there." He tried to extort £20,000 to stay silent, but police, who'd bugged his flat, overheard him scheming revenge. "I just tripped, mate," he smirked to an officer, adding, "Don't worry, I'll sort the little expletive who did this." In October 2009, Daniel was convicted of 2 counts of threats to kill and 2 counts of blackmail, pleading guilty to conspiring to possess firearms as another trial loomed. Prosecutor Ian Unsworth KC said Daniel's hunger for vengeance knew no limits. Judge Henry Globe, KC, gave him an indeterminate sentence for public protection alongside his drug sentence, declaring, "The public needs protecting from you, and I don't know when it'll be safe to let you out." Daniel's barrister, Stuart Lawson Rogers, QC, claimed he armed himself out of fear of the Starkey family and argued police targeted him for his infamous name, but the court dismissed it. Behind bars, Daniel's reputation grew fiercer. Former prison officer Neil Samworth called him a one-man wrecking crew, likening him to Charles Bronson. Standing 6'2" with a hulking build, Daniel was often in segregation. In April 2014, he trashed his cell, overpowering 10 padded-up officers, ripping off their helmets and landing brutal punches, earning a transfer to a bare cell with just a wooden bucket. Many saw the prison system forging him into a notorious figure, possibly surpassing Bronson. Daniel's prison story took a dramatic twist on May 27, 2024, when he slipped out of Kirkleavington Grange, an open prison in North Yorkshire, triggering a Cleveland police manhunt. Merseyside police tracked him down in Aspel, Wigan, on June 25, 2024. Charged with being unlawfully at large, he was given a 4-month sentence on June 26, served alongside his indeterminate term, thrusting his name back into the spotlight. Years later, Jamie Starkey, the teen who shot Daniel, met a grim fate, gunned down in 2012 outside his Fazeeka home in a targeted hit that remains unsolved. The G family's shadow lingered, their legacy of violence haunting Liverpool streets as new questions arose about old enemies and unsettled scores. Stepping out of prison in his 40s, Darren G faced a world that had changed, wrestling with heavy depression and thoughts of ending his life. "I was so down, so angry, I kept thinking about giving up," he shared openly. Moved by the Choose a Life and Not a Knife campaign, he teamed up with the Ben Kinsella Trust to warn young people about the dangers of knife crime. "I wasted years on gang violence," he said, his voice thick with regret for the deaths of Craig Barker, a friend not caught up in serious crime, and David Regan, whose murder he'd set in motion. As a true crime podcaster and social media figure, Darren gained a loyal following, posting raw videos about how childhood abuse and domestic violence dragged him into a life of crime, urging others to steer clear of his path. Darren's efforts to rebuild his life shone a light on his past, but the G family's dark legacy loomed large, with other brothers facing their own tragedies and crimes that kept their name tied to Liverpool's troubled streets. The G family's shadow loomed large over Liverpool's underworld, reaching far beyond Darren and Daniel. Ian G, a key player in their drug trade, lived a life marked by trouble, dodging death in the 2004 Robson Street shooting and facing accusations of making death threats. His luck ran dry in April 2014 when a drive-by on a quiet street left him bleeding out, found by a paramedic. Billy G, another brother, tangled with the law over unlawful wounding charges. His life ended in tragedy on February 19, 2016, when he was found lifeless at their parents' Everton home, undone by a toxic mix of cocaine and 6 bottles of Copperberg cider. His battles with epilepsy, drug overdoses, and alcohol abuse sealed his grim fate. Stephen G, racking up over 20 convictions, kept the family's cycle of crime spinning. In July 2017, strung out on cocaine and Billy's antipsychotic meds, he posed as a Liverpool council worker to scam a 77-year-old man in Norris Green, nicking car keys and a vehicle. A Coke can with his DNA led to a 33-month jail stint. Years earlier, in 2009, he'd been hit with a 2-year antisocial behaviour order, only to burgle homes weeks later, landing back behind bars. The G family's crimes etched a dark chapter in Liverpool's underworld, their legacy a raw mix of violence, loss, unsettled scores, and lingering questions. Their story serves as a chilling reminder of the devastating toll gang life takes on families and communities. Want to dive deeper into Liverpool's underworld and stories like the G families? Subscribe to Crime Pulse on YouTube for gripping true crime tales, exclusive insights, and updates on cases that shape the city's streets. Join our community and stay in the know.